Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. This video, as you could see by the thumbnail and the title, I'm sure is about the LX570. This one isn't mine. This is a 2008 LX570. So, gonna be talking about a lot of stuff in this video. I'll put chapters down below, so feel free to skip ahead or, whatever you care about, skip to it. I already filmed this video. It was over an hour long, so I am gonna try and truncate it a little bit because I know you guys' time is valuable. I'm sure it'll still end up being like 30 minutes, but again, feel free to skip around. I'll give some backstory. I used to have an LX570, actually made some LX570 videos a couple years ago, sold it for a Sequoia. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about the modifications I've done to the vehicle. I'll talk about the modifications I'm planning to do to the vehicle and how this kind of fits into my fleet of vehicles, why I got it, why I love it, all those sorts of things. I am filming on a new camera, a DJI Osmo Pocket 3 for those that care, instead of my more expensive, nicer Canon setup, primarily so the footage is a little bit smoother. When I do these kind of videos and I'm doing a lot of walking around, I have heard from you guys, some of you guys, that it's a little shaky and you don't like that, and I don't feel like messing with a big gimbal. So we'll try this. Let me know in the comments down below whether you loved it or hated it, if I should use this camera more often. My feelings won't get hurt, so just let me know honestly, and we'll go from there. So the legendary LX570, also very similar to a 200 series Land Cruiser, drivetrain, everything largely the same. I'll talk a little bit about the differences. So let's go back, I guess, in time. I like Land Cruiser. I have an 80 series, a 60 series. I bought this because it's cheaper. The LX570 is a little bit cheaper than a 200 series Land Cruiser. So if you're looking for a 200 series Land Cruiser, it's definitely worth considering an LX570. And I'll talk, obviously, in this video a lot about it. But the Toyota Land Cruiser just kind of carries some extra value because of the name, because it's a Toyota Land Cruiser. But LX570 is technically nicer in quite a few ways, and you'll be paying, I don't know, probably 10 to 25% less for an LX570 versus an equivalent year mileage condition Land Cruiser. And I actually like the LX570 a little bit better. Let's maybe talk about why I like it better. So primarily is the suspension. I like the design of the Land Cruiser 200 series better, but I really like the hydraulic assisted suspension. It's called, most people call the AHC, which stands for automatic height control actually, but what it is it has coil suspension with hydraulic shocks, struts, a whole system. There's globes, there's fluid lines, and what that does is allows you to actually raise the whole vehicle about 2 inches or lower it 1.5 inches. There's some specifics around that. It'll come back to normal height where it's sitting right now, above 20 miles an hour basically. But it also helps with cornering, so it kind of keeps your vehicle level so you're not swaying as much. It'll actually help level it out if you're towing behind it. So there's a lot of huge benefits to the AHC system. Some people don't like it because it's just more stuff that can break theoretically, and it can if it isn't maintained. The kind of the Achilles heel to the AHC system is when the hydraulic lines rust out. But if it is maintained, if it's operating well, they are very robust, a very proven system, and they ride 1,000,000 times better than equivalent Land Cruiser 200 series. The AHC was offered on some Land Cruisers elsewhere in the world, but here in America, if you have a Land Cruiser, it doesn't have AHC. If you have an LX, it does have AHC. The 200 series Land Cruiser does have a KDSS, basically kind of Toyota's fancy electronic unlocking front sway bar, essentially, is what that is. And the 200 series has a more traditional suspension system, so a little easier to swap out for different, if you want to go to Kings or something like that. But AHC is amazing. With 5 minutes and a 10mm wrench, you can raise it about 1.5 inches as well, hydraulically. And a lot of people will put in just spring spacers, or they're called spring rubbers, is another thing. But I'm probably gonna lift the front end at least 1/2 inch, but I'm planning to put bumpers and everything on here. So once I have it a little more at its final weight, I'll spend a little bit of time on the suspension. I personally love suspension as low as possible. Makes a lot of sense for a daily driven vehicle, You know, slightly better fuel economy, a little easier to get in and out of. But I also just like the low, you know, kind of trophy truck look of things. So yeah. And I recently did a video comparing this actually to the new GX550. That video I'll link up in the top left here. Certainly worth checking out if you haven't watched it yet, because this actually compares really close to the GX550, and you could save yourself $60K and get a vehicle that may outlast the GX550. Who knows? These are powered by the 5.7 liter V8 engine, one of Toyota's best engines. There's several examples of these actually in Tundras primarily that have passed 1 million miles, and the Land Cruiser variant of it is actually built to an even higher spec than the Tundra. So this motor drivetrain combo, these are built in Japan to the highest Toyota spec. These are basically Toyota's and Lexus's crowning achievements. This is their most robust, most reliable, most incredible. This is the vehicle that they have most pride in. So this is cream of the crop as it comes to Toyota reliability and durability and longevity. And if you spend any amount of time with Toyota Land Cruiser enthusiasts, owners especially, it may get annoying even, but they'll tell you, oh yeah, these were built to last 25 years in the worst conditions with no major maintenance. So yeah, that's a little backstory on Lexus LX570s and 200 series Land Cruisers. The 80 series is so 60 series, 80 series ran to 97, then the 100 series ran from 98 to 2007, and then the 200 series were 2008 to, I believe they stopped in 2021, were sold into 2022. Now this was replaced by the LX600, but the 300 series Land Cruiser does not exist in the US. It does exist overseas. The Land Cruiser we're getting here in America is really a Land Cruiser Prado. It's the LC250, whereas the rest of the world, a lot of the rest of the world can get the LC300. So if you want the newest Land Cruiser, the LC300, in America, you'll have to settle for the LX600, which is an incredible machine, but very expensive. So anyway, a little bit of backstory on that, and they're just robust, rugged. Anyone that owns them, if you're on Facebook in the various LX570 or 200 series Land Cruiser groups, a lot of those wealthy dudes that have had G-Wagons and every Tahoe, everything nice, they love this the most. Now, I haven't been fortunate enough to just spend a lot of time with other ultra premium big SUVs, but the LX570 is just the nicest drive. Is it super modern? No. Is it a beast? Is it a tank? Yes. It drives amazing, really good sound dampening, just feels solid. And for me, it's just like the family tank. So a little bit of backstory. I like Land Cruisers, obviously. I was shopping for a Land Cruiser, a 200 series Land Cruiser, or a 100 series Land Cruiser, but I really wanted the 200, the 5.7, just And eventually that led me down the path to say, oh, maybe I should get an LX570. Test drove a couple, got a 2010 LX570. That was the black one you saw on the channel before. Loved that vehicle. It was a weird time in my life. I started building this house. We didn't have a baby yet, and just the LX570 didn't really fit my life at the time, so I sold it, but I still did want a big SUV, so I bought a first-gen Sequoia. I also like getting experience and hands-on with other vehicles so I can speak to them and compare them. So the Sequoia was much cheaper, and that was a great vehicle. I've made some Sequoia videos on the channel. If you're thinking about a first-gen Sequoia, can highly recommend them. I love them, so information on those on the channel. But I missed the LX570. It's just in a class of its own, far nicer than the Sequoia. Sorry, my Sequoia brothers and sisters out there, but the LX has no, it's LX versus Sequoia, there's really no comparison. So I really missed it. So anyway, got the house done, popped a baby out, and really wanted an LX570 again. So I sold the Sequoia, bought another LX570, and that's kind of how the story went. Let's talk about what I've done so far. There is a vehicle wrap on here. This was done by my friend Jake at Lucid Wraps. It's kind of hard to tell maybe, but this is a Java brown kind of metallic. There's slight flake in here. I don't know if it's coming through on the camera, but kind of looks like a satin kind of brown. And I wanted to do that to pay a little homage to my 80 series, which I custom painted brown, that is affectionately known as the Poop Cruiser. But I just thought this was a kind of a classy, kind of rugged, like it fits the Lexus vibe pretty well. So anyway, it's silver underneath. I kind of hate silver vehicles, so I decided to wrap it, and Jake crushed it on this wrap. There's actually a gloss black roof. He wrapped satin black mirrors. I actually swapped the trim out, but this trim can't be swapped out, so he did wrap that in satin black. He did kind of this textured black wrap on a couple components like the handles and the headlight washers, some stuff like that. So Jake really just crushed it on this wrap. If you're in the Denver area and looking for a wrap, I can't recommend him enough. But yeah, we basically deleted all of the chrome. Most of it was wrapped with this, again, this textured, I think it's called Rocky Black. Blacked out the emblems, and then I removed this kind of side molding. I believe up until 2011 you can just pop that off, heat it up, you know, usually use the heat gun or something, but I had this heater out here heating up the garage anyway, so I just pointed it here and then wedged like a little pry tool. I use this little yellow one. I have a bunch of various pry tools from prying up dashes and whatnot, and just get that back in here. The warmer it is, the easier it'll come off, and it'll leave a bunch of residue behind that you'll be able to peel some of it off, and then some of it I'll show you in a second. You get one of these eraser wheels to kind of get the rest off. So that's looks a little more like a Land Cruiser. This is a 2008, so from the side profile it looks just like a Land Cruiser. The only difference really is the rear a little bit and the front grille and lights a little bit. As you got later on in the years for the LX, there's basically 3 facelifts. This is the earliest gen, then I believe it was 2012, got an update, and then 2016 got an update. I like the earlier gens the most, just aesthetically, because they look the most Land Cruiser-esque, in my opinion. So yeah, I got the wrap, and then I did put this grille on. I'm kind of undecided about this grille. I don't love it, but I don't like the factory grille either. This kind of brings Toyota TRD Pro vibes, which I do kind of like, but I don't know. I could see why people would hate it. I could see why people would like it. I'm kind of right in the middle here. The plan is to actually turn this into kind of a full build, a family adventure vehicle, but also just make it a more robust, prepared daily driver. Again, this is the family tank, so I want this just to be able to plow through anything that it needs to, but also take the family out on some adventures. So I am planning a Descent off-road front and rear bumper, Prinsu roof rack, maybe, again, I'm not gonna really wheel this vehicle or anything, maybe some more armor eventually, or some sliders or some skid plates, I don't really know, but I'm gonna do dual swing out on the back just to give more gear carrying capability. Now, when it comes to the wheels and tires on this, again, it's not lifted, but I did put bigger wheels, or smaller wheels technically, and bigger tires. These were a huge shout out to Trail Built Off-Road. They actually got this 5 wheels and tires, so I have a full-size spare tire underneath. These are Toyo Open Country AT3s. So real quick, Trail Built Off-Road, I do want to give them a shout out. They have a really good configurator on their website. You can go plug in your vehicle. They have some tolerances, like do you have a lift? Are you okay with trimming and whatnot like that? And then you can get the wheel tire combo that you want, mounted, balanced, TPMS installed, shipped right to your door. So that's what I got, 5 wheels and tires shipped right to my door. You know, jacked it up, swapped the tires, and was ready to go. I didn't have to go anywhere. So that's really a cool option. So Trail Built Off-Road, I'll leave a link to them in the video description down below. But if you're looking for wheels and tires, definitely check them out. So we went for the Toyo Open Country AT3s, which are my preferred kind of daily driver tire. They are a little chunkier, so they're, you know, can handle some trail work, but have really, really good road manners. And these are 285 75 R17, which makes them like an 11.3 inch or 11.4 inch wide, something like that, by just under 34 inches. I think they measure a 33.8 inch. So just under a 34-inch tire, 17-inch wheels. These are on the Icon rebounds, and I wanted to get very specific here with the offset. So on a lot of vehicles, I like more poke. I think aesthetically, I like it. The Tacoma sticks out a ton, but for this vehicle, I was like, it probably makes more sense to have them in a little bit. So we are outside just a tiny bit. The advantages of not going super far outside is helps keep the vehicle a little cleaner, you know, fits in slightly tighter spots. And also when your tire swings, if it's out, if it has a lot of offset, then it swings further back and will rub more, swings further forward and will rub more. So for clearance issues, particularly around the front, then a little bit more inset offset is preferable. Also, if you get too far, when you flex up, I'll show some articulation here in a second, it will go outside of the fender and can't actually tuck. It can actually go a little bit higher if it's inside here. So I'll show you some quick articulation, just a real quick articulation demo here. Just pulled up on this, kind of into this little ditch here. So pretty good amount of droop on the rear axle here. Front tucked pretty well. It is independent front suspension, so obviously not gonna get quite as much out of the front as out of the rear, but then pretty nicely tucked up there as well. So yeah, that landed me at a plus 25 offset. These are 17 by, I believe they're 8.5 inches wide. And I think that is money. So I went with more offset on my previous LX, had a little more rubbing issues. This one doesn't have much rubbing issues. Actually, I left the mud flap on, I pulled it, bent some bracketry a little bit, and then I heated it up and kind of flattened it out and just kind of tucked it back. Now, this one, I do need to heat and mold a little more. I think I'm looking at, you can't really tell because it's so bright, but I rub just a tiny bit in reverse if I'm a tiny little bit flexed out. But you know, most parking lots and stuff, you're not getting much rub. And again, I probably will lift this just a little bit with the little bracket sensor lift. In the front, I did have to pull this out, push the front liner forward, but there's no rubbing at all in the front. So that's pretty sweet that you can essentially fit 34-inch tires with no lift at all. And again, full-size spare underneath, which is really nice, just in the factory location. I believe this is the biggest spare you're gonna fit under there. There's one bracket, it's just 2 bolts you need to remove, but then you can fit your 34-inch full-size spare in the factory location, which I love doing. Keeps your kind of center of gravity low, and then also for the swing outs, it will free up more gear storage on the swing out. So I'll have some gear storage there and then the roof rack on the top as well. So yeah, I'll show you more on that later as I get these modifications dialed in. But yeah, I will be putting a Prinsu roof rack up top. I removed the factory rack so we could wrap everything. Actually just have these sticking out here. On the Prinsu rack, I am planning to basically hard mount this Pelican Vault case. Come on, point where I want you to point. And probably a set of Max Tracks up top, and then the Pelican Vault double rifle case. This is actually big enough to fit everything that I will show you here that's currently in the back of the Lexus. So the other thing I'm gonna do is send these lights in to TEQ Customs for some retrofits. Right now, it's actually kind of hard to tell in video, but this is very yellowed and kind of fogged out. And you can do restoration stuff, but inside is all chromed out. So I want to black out all the interior, and then he's going to update the projectors inside to improve both my low beam and high beam performance here, and just kind of obviously it'll grant a better aesthetic, because I've kind of worked towards getting everything kind of blacked out, and we got these awful chromed out headlights up front. So we'll do that. And then, yeah, so the roof rack up top with the roof box up there. Again, I don't care too much about keeping my fuel economy. Let's go inside. I'll show you some stuff real quick. I won't spend too much time in here. Watch my previous LX video. I think I go pretty detailed with everything that's going on. I wrapped all of the wood trim kind of in this textured vinyl because I had like some kind of cracks and bubbles and stuff. Again, an older vehicle. It's this color, which I don't like at all. So I basically wrapped all of the panels that had this. Maybe I'll try to wrap the steering wheel at some point. I do have these floor mats I'm trying out, 3D USA mats. They have a variety of kinds. These are kind of the most minimal, so I don't think they offer like as good protection as maybe they have one called Extreme or something. I've always been a WeatherTech guy, but I figured I would give these a try and see how they are. But yeah, they may not hold as much mud and stuff, but the fitment is nice. I think they look really clean and svelte. I actually saw these in a forum. I think I Hate Mud. Someone was talking about how much they liked them, so I said I'll try them out. And yeah, so far so good. Inside, this is a cup holder from BH 3D Printing. So this is a 3D printed cup holder, drop-in replacement for the factory that kind of has this cover, and the cup holder's kind of jank. So these will fit 2 Nalgene's, and actually even bigger. It has this insert here to make it fit the Nalgene. If you pull that insert out, it fits something even bigger. I think like a Yeti 40 ounce or something like that. So double Nalgene's. This is a 3D printed one that I designed. It's not perfect. I've had a lot of people ask me if I can send them the file or print this or sell it or whatever. It's not very good. So the fitment isn't perfect, and I just didn't spend time doing revisions of it. And you gotta kind of tape it down and then actually put a little screw through here. So it's pretty secure now, but I'm just not super happy with it. So it wasn't something I wanted to try and sell or anything, but it does give you 5 cup holders right through here, through basically some otherwise wasted space. It doesn't really protrude too far into this area. And when I'm driving around, sorry, this is where the camera doesn't shine. I can have drinks. Ashley always has drinks, multiples. So basically these are size like kind of like small Red Bull can, kind of standard, and then this is sized perfectly for an Nalgene to fit as well. So tons of cup holder space with the modifications that I've made. A lot of this stuff is dated, but there's a lot of hard buttons, which is nice. It has 4-zone climate control, which is nice. The screen is faded. It's yellowed out. It's not great. There's not great solutions to getting CarPlay on this. There's like a Grom, but it's like $700 and kind of glitchy, and then you're still stuck with your old pixelated yellowed out screen unless you want to replace that. Then you're getting to the thousands of dollars. It's not easy to put. I don't think there's any just like double DIN solutions for this generation of them anyway. So I actually went with this thing. I think I'll do a separate video of it. This is a Carpuride thing, and it just runs aux input, so it runs down into the aux input here and then gives you wireless CarPlay on a nice big modern screen. This will be divisive as well, like, why'd you do that? You ruined it. But it's kind of like an LX600, so this I can have all my 4-zone climate control stuff or whatever on this screen, backup camera, and then this is just CarPlay all the time. The interesting thing with this is it also has I can't see my screen, but it has a rear view, or it has a dash cam as well. So I wanted to add a dash cam, I wanted wireless CarPlay, and that unit does both. So maybe I'll make a dedicated quick video on that, just because it's kind of warrants its own. So this is a wireless charger, and this is just the factory mount for that. That's the mount for that they came with. I should do some cable cleanup, but that's kind of what I got going on here. Yeah, my camera down here, it's like, oh, but this is where I sit. So this is my view from the driver's seat, if I can get this camera to turn down. Yeah, so it doesn't really obstruct much of my view from the driver's seat at all, and it puts it in a nice location so I can, you know, view maps and control music and whatnot. And then I do just always like to mount my phone somewhere that isn't blocking a vent but is easy to see. So that's kind of that setup. I'll talk more on that later. Inside is good. I have this. I don't have the cool box in this one. It's kind of rare to not have the cool box, but I have some interior organization, miscellaneous tools and whatnot in here, and then snacks and drinks up top. And that's basically what's going on up front. It does have the Mark Levinson sound system, which is very nice. Center differential locker. Again, I'm not getting too detailed with specs on the LX because I've done that quite a bit. Has like a 270 camera, a lot of controls, has AC plug in the back, power lift hatch button here, and this. So again, I'm not going to go through everything. Back seat's pretty nice. It's just a 60-40 split. I have car seat base back here pretty much all the time, and this control here reclines, so the seat can recline. That's also the mechanism to have it tumble forward to get into the third row. These do have powered kind of slide forward and back, give yourself a little more leg room. In the middle row, also the 3D mats back here. These are just kind of grocery bags, paper towels that I keep in here, miscellaneous gloves, trash bags, whatnot. Can't forget your cigarette ashtrays back here. And yeah, second row is nice. Does have the DVD. I don't think I mentioned it in this video. I mentioned it in the other video. This LX has 140,000 miles. It's a 2008. It cost me 19 grand. So actually a pretty good deal. Not too much rust or anything underneath. It was okay condition mechanically. Just had radiator replaced. I should actually talk a little bit about maintenance on these things. There is some maintenance, nothing too major on the 200 series. Like there was some more major things on the 100 series. Your timing belt, water pump, LBJs, UBJs, stuff like that. The main thing, there are a couple things, but the main thing is the radiator on these. The starter can eventually go out, but valley leak. There's a couple like minor things. The main one is the factory radiator from earlier models wasn't good. So this one did actually have the radiator replaced very recently. The other thing I talked to a little bit earlier is the AHC service. My AHC seems pretty good, but just because I want to get this thing dialed with maintenance. Basically, when I get a vehicle, I don't know the maintenance history. Even sometimes when I do know the maintenance history, I'll do, you know, the normal stuff, filters and oil change and whatnot. This, I'll probably do T-case flush, transmission fluid flush. I don't know if I'll do a flush. I've heard some mixed things on the flush for these things, whether you should just drain and top off. And then I bought factory AHC globes. This is, if you don't know about LXs, you don't know what I'm talking about. But basically, I may service the hydraulic suspension system, which will include a hydraulic fluid flush and replacing the globes. I don't think any of my lines are too rusted out or anything like that, so that'll probably be the extent of it. The tailgate, like I said earlier, or the hatch rather, is powered with the button up there, powered with this here, as well, just from the fob. So it does kind of have a powered lift gate. The tailgate is not powered. The thing that's kind of interesting is you can close it with the button. That's powered, or you can close it manually. But when you open it manually with the button, you just open it manually. So it doesn't go into powered mode. You just flip it right up. A lot of people complain about that, but having had powered hatches like on Ashley's RAV4, they're kind of slow and you got to wait for them. So I like that when I go to engage with this one, I can just open it fast. And when I want to close it, I can just close it fast. But if I want to close it slow, I can hit that. So it's kind of, in my mind, it's kind of best of both worlds, but there are some people that complain about that. Does have a tailgate. This is kind of like a soft lowering tailgate. Has a little bit of storage. You got the factory tools in here. In here, I don't have anything right now. There's not a ton of space in there. And yeah, so back here we have the third row. This is kind of legendary Land Cruiser third row action where the seats fold up. It's what the Land Cruisers do. Not anymore, but that's what the Land Cruisers used to do. These ones in the Lexus are powered, which is kind of nice. So some people don't like it because they say it takes up a ton of space rather than folding into the floor or something like that. The thing is, it can't fold into the floor because, again, we got a solid axle back here and a full-size spare tire. So that raises the floor. So this is as low as it can go. So these seats don't have anywhere to go by folding into the floor. So they got to fold up to the side. It doesn't eat into the interior storage capacity as much as I think people complain about, because that's the tire wheel well right there. And then so you're only really taking up a little bit of this space here. You still got this chunk back here. It does take up more space obviously than folding flat, so there's no argument there, but I still find that the rear has a lot of storage capacity. If you don't need a third row, you can remove it. It's a little more complicated removing the Lexus ones because they're power versus the 200 series Land Cruisers. They're just manual, so they're much easier to remove. I believe it's like a 30-minute job to remove them if you want. But one of the reasons for this vehicle is because it's a people mover for me. If I need to transport some friends, if I need to pick up a big group from the airport, if Isabella's having a birthday party and we need to take a bunch of people to the skating rink or something, this vehicle can seat 8, which is nice. So these seats are powered here, powered to go down just by holding that. Lifting it is a manual process with this here. And then you can adjust the recline a little bit on that. Third row seat, if you're hauling around 8 full-grown 6 foot tall plus men, yeah, it's not going to be the most comfortable setup, but if you got kids back here, it'll definitely be fine. Usually if Isabella wants to hop back here, I'll lower this one. That way she just actually likes to climb in through the back, but she could get in through the front. But if you have car seats or whatever, that obviously limits the tumbleability of those front seats. So you can get in, obviously, to the third row through the back if you want to. Now to go down, it is an automated process, and to fold it back up is an automated press, semi-automated. You got to hold the button while it does that. So anyway, decent amount of storage back here. Tailgate's obviously great if you're out camping or if you're at a soccer game or whatever. I love having tailgates. Tailgates are the best. Though I did like the roll down rear window on the Sequoia. So I would say tailgate is the best. Roll down rear window like in the 4Runner or the Sequoia, second best. Everything else sucks, honestly, in comparison. So the new Land Cruiser, the the new LC300, the LX600, the GX550, all of those have subpar rear hatch experiences because they no longer have a tailgate, and they kind of have a split hatch in that the glass folds up. But a far superior thing to the glass folding up is the window rolling down. So I would say the current gen of both LC300, LX600, as well as the LC250 and the GX550, I would say their hatches are a downgrade by far. So we have back here, this is actually a Vertex VTAC stackable storage bin. These are kind of just like nice heavy duty bins from Vertex. I will link to all this stuff down below. I also have my get home bag back here. Sorry, still getting used to the slow movement of this camera. So I did a whole video on a get home bag, pretty minimal setup. And then this bag's got some crossover with that, extra set of gloves. This is actually something I thought about. I was on a podcast recently, the Casual Preppers podcast, and we were talking, I don't know, miscellaneous stuff, like how having a kid changes your systems. And I thought to myself, I should have an extra carrier. So this is just some cheap carrier I bought on Amazon. I should actually open it up, make sure it works. Oh, it's like camo. I didn't even realize. And yeah, so in case I need to do a long walk home, I'm obviously fine myself. I even have an extra pair of boots in here. But one thing that I may not always have on me is a baby carrier, a toddler carrier. So this one, I think, goes up to like a 40-pound kid it can hold. So anyway, I bought one of these. I'll probably buy a couple to just throw them in the cars. Other than that, we got a med kit, Dark Angel, IFAK, toe strap, boots, fire extinguisher, gloves, gaiters, some tie-down straps. I got a jump starter back here, tire repair kit, tire inflator, rags, wipes, some paracord, all kinds of goodies. Yeah, this camera's not as good for that kind of stuff. So all of this stuff is gonna go into the Pelican case on the roof eventually. It's all relatively lightweight stuff. And you do still obviously have quite a bit of storage back here. Even with that, this fits behind the third row, which is nice. Fits behind the third row when it's folded up. You see, basically you have that much storage. So this is almost the perfect size to fit there. It's also about the perfect height of that. So one nice thing I do like about this hatch with the tailgate is you can load, you do a Costco run or something, you can load a bunch of stuff into the back and not have to worry about it falling out. And it's easy to reach over this versus if it was, again, the hatch with the glass, that's quite a bit higher to get stuff into there versus the tailgate. So I do think the rear hatch of the 200 series is king in that regard. Very, very good. Okay, well, I think that is about it for this video. I hopefully kept it at about 40 minutes, so down 20 minutes or 30 minutes from my previous take, but obviously I talk a lot. There's a lot of information to get through. I breezed over some things. I covered some of these things in the LX570 versus GX550 video. I also talked more about the LX in my previous LX570 videos. So just search LLOD LX570 and a few videos will pop up if you want more information. But these are going to be coming on the market pretty quick. A lot of people, I think Land Cruisers especially, but also LX570s, have one of the highest like ownership life cycles. Like somebody will buy a Land Cruiser and hold on to it longer than almost any other vehicle that exists. So I only mention that to say, well, people love these vehicles, obviously, but as the LX600's out now and the GX550's coming out, you may find some LX570 owners upgrading to the GX550. So there may be more of these on the market. The price is coming down a little bit. I think they're better in every way versus the 100 series, honestly. And the prices, again, they're coming down where you can get a pretty beat on 100 series for 10 grand ish. You can get a relatively beat on. This is one of the cheaper, maybe the cheapest LX570s that I've come across. That I'm sure there are some cheaper, and prices may be dropping even now since I bought this a few months back. But again, this one, pretty decent example of an LX570, 140,000 miles. Now these things regularly up into the 500,000. Now you don't see as many of them with 500,000 miles just because people haven't put that many miles on them. But again, the same drivetrain, the same engine, though produced in a lesser plant here in America. Everyone will agree that the Japanese plant puts out higher quality ones. I think there's a guy on YouTube, Cruising the Land, I think. Sorry if I'm getting that name wrong, but he talked about how the blocks are put through like X-ray scanners to make sure there's no bubbles or anyway. The point he was making was these are made to a much higher spec than the Tundras are as well. So there's Tundras going 1,000,000 miles. I'm sure these will go 1,000,000 miles as well. So 140,000 miles is just getting broken in. I don't shy away from the higher mileage vehicles. But anyway, that's that. Again, sorry, I'm struggling a little bit with this camera and the gimbal movements on it. I just got to get used to it. But let me know if you liked the smoothness of this video better than my others, and maybe I'll keep messing with this thing a little more, get the hang of it a little better. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. And I will be outlining the build, the rest of the build here on the channel. So if you're into LX570s, then get subscribed, follow along. Again, it won't be like a crazy rock crawler build or anything, but it will be a full build, like full bumpers, rack, everything. But I think, you always say it at the start, I think I'll stick with these 34-inch tires just because they make so much sense with fitment. It drives really well, still feels like it has plenty of power. I don't have to re-gear or anything. So I think these 275 or 285 75 R17s are kind of the sweet spot, honestly, for tires. But I may pressure myself into going bigger at some point. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below if you liked it or loved it or hated it. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. All right, guys. Well, until next time, take care.